All righty. Why don't we get started? I suspect we will be joined by more people, but all righty. Well, again, welcome everybody. This is now our third of three June gatherings. The first two have just been absolutely wonderful. And I won't say a lot more about them because whatever we create today will be very new, but I have every confidence that we'll continue the creativity and fun that we've been having together. And this is overall our fourth set of gatherings that we've held since we started about 9 months ago. We're about 9 months old now, and we are I know speaking for myself, but I know I speak for others in the coalition. I adore these gatherings. I just find tremendous inspiration and energy, and also it just reaffirms, what I think I love about what happens when you bring different kinds of people together and you just give them a lot of support to create something new together, that you don't have to. We can just do whatever. We can go new places. We can say new things. We can, and give each other a lot of support. Let's just, if we can do a quick show of hands, who's here who's at their first gathering? Great, welcome, wonderful, welcome. So glad you can join us. And of course, welcome back to everyone else, all you veterans of member gatherings. You will be hearing a lot more about the coalition and where we are, where we're going, what we hope to do, and throughout the day, obviously what we hope to accomplish today. But, I'm very thrilled to say the coalition continues to grow. We have about 525 members from about 26 countries. We are, and what's been particularly, I think, exciting for me is that people are learning about us in a number of different ways. They might see a tweet, they might see an email, they might have seen a newsletter or an article, just a multitude of other ways. And of course, they're hearing about it from friends and colleagues. So mostly, I just want to use that as kind of the springboard for saying, please continue to share the coalition and Reimagining Dementia in whatever ways you can, small, large, because it matters. And it matters that, I feel personally that I want people to at least know that there are folks who are reimagining dementia. And even if they want to reimagining something else, that there is a reimagining energy going on in the world. Before handing things over to P, I was just thinking, I was speaking to actually a lovely old man. He's from Southeast Asia. He's now living in the UK. And he works he's just a remarkable human being and, works a lot with seniors and senior programs. And in the context of the conversation, we were talking about the struggles and challenges they're having in working with people, the programs for people living with dementia. And he said, and I'm not exactly quoting him, but what he basically said is it feels like we're kind of stuck with either wanting a cure, which regardless of the developments here in the US is not on the horizon, or we simply cope. So it's kind of, you can either cure it or cope with it. And neither of which, and I think all of us, would share in this feeling, but he was not happy with those options. And I think that they're just so limiting and so deadening and just, and they're presenting it as if that nothing else is possible. So I am thrilled. And again, it's just another reason why I feel like, and both inspired by, but also that we're just doing the right thing in creating a coalition, which is giving a lot of energy to, giving greater visibility, if you will, to another C word, which is creativity. I think that how we're going to get out of the cure and cope kind of mess is, again, to create a new path forward. And what that will look like, who knows? I mean, if we knew what it looked like, it wouldn't be new. So it would be kind of besides the point. But creativity, the thing I can say is it will always be the starting point of everything that we do at the coalition. Even as we're always going to be a place where people, anyone who wants to create, who wants to try some things out, who wants to go different, make different kinds of choices and create new kinds of possibility, they have a home. And so I want to, well, actually, I think I'm just going to now turn it over to, actually, I'm not going to, God, I do this every time. We work to have a lot of fun in these gatherings, even as we know we're addressing very serious things, but the two are not incompatible. In fact, I think the better our world could grasp that, I think the better off that we would be as because we want to continue going very big and have a lot of fun and be as creative and joyous as possible. So to keep that fun going, I'm going to turn things over now to Eileen Moncour, who is a member, longstanding member. I've known Eileen for many, many years. She is, in addition, she's a very, very accomplished nonprofit leader, but she also co-leads a remarkable series of short-term emotional development groups for life performance coaching in in San Francisco in the Bay Area, together with Helen Abel, who's also here with us today and is also a member, obviously. And the groups bring together people living with dementia, care partners, anyone who wants to grow emotionally, positively transform their relationship to aging, memory loss, dementia. I think that it's very important because I think the emotional needs of this population, broadly speaking, is, I think, seriously under-resourced. So I am thrilled that Eileen and Helen are doing that work. So Eileen, the stage is now yours.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Today we're going to create a short collective dance movement together. So myself, Helen Abel, will be your leaders. And just a small direction for the leaders, let's keep our movement within the Zoom screen. So I will start with a movement and you will all follow or mirror me. And it doesn't matter if you can't see me. What you're going to do is you're going to look around your Zoom environment and you mimic what's in your screen. And together, we're going to create a collective movement. Just watch the others and mirror on your page. And after about 10 seconds, I'm going to call out Helen. I'm going to pass the movement to Helen. She's going to reshape it and you will all start to follow Helen. Even if you can't see Helen, you're just going to watch your screen. Then we're going to I'll call out to Helen to pass the movement to Mal, and they will reshape the movement and we will follow Mal. And I will then call curtain and we will all relax and give ourselves a round of applause. So I think this should be fun. The rule is watch the group and have fun and keep it in your Zoom screen. So I'll start. Helen. Helen, pass to Mal.
Mal.
Curtin, give yourselves a round of applause.
Okay. Okay. Now we're in a Zen space. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. All righty. So I'm going to turn it over to Pia Cantos, who is a founding member of the coalition. She is also a very accomplished, passionate activist and academic, and has managed to kind of marry the two in, I think, some very exciting ways. If you are not familiar with her work, please change it immediately. Because I think she's done remarkably creative work in addressing stigma and just overall transforming this conversation. And she is also, just for me at least, she is just a beating heart of the coalition. So Pia, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Mary. Your introductions are always so lovely. And good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you're joining us from. It's really my pleasure to share with you all just a brief overview of where we are as a coalition. Some of you are joining us for the first time, and even those who have joined us before, we thought just this brief overview would be helpful, including some of the behind the scenes work that's been involved in what we've done that you might not be aware of, and also thoughts of the planning group regarding next steps. So as Mary already mentioned, over the last 9 months, we have seen the launch of the coalition. We have got it up and running, and given our commitment to inclusivity and authentic partnerships with people living with dementia, our priority has been to bring all of the members together so that we could start getting to know each other and collectively explore where we want to go with this coalition. As you know, we've hosted a number of membership gatherings. We're up to this is 12. And these gatherings, I think they've all been really well attended by our members and have really provided an important opportunity for us to come together, to explore what reimagining dementia means to all of us and what collectively we want to achieve with this coalition. There has been an enormous amount of work that's been involved behind the scenes. Supporting the gatherings themselves, but also supporting their progression. And our planning group has been meeting every Friday since last March, that's March 2020, and has really been instrumental in organizing and running the larger gatherings. I think that we've come up with some really creative ways to facilitate the larger gatherings. We always record these, and that way we can review them. We've created summaries of those, the key points from our discussion, which in turn inform subsequent discussions and the planning of subsequent gatherings. We have had quite a number of media requests for interviews, which is terrific because that helps us to raise awareness about who we are and what we're wanting to do. And we've also given a good number of presentations at various organizations. We also published an article in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease about the coalition, and that included co-authors from our broader membership. I'm really, really proud of that piece, and I just think it's a really clear, powerful, really compelling explication of what this coalition is, and the key, like the core principles of what it is, of the coalition. So if you haven't read it, I encourage you all to do so, and also to share it widely. I'll paste a link to it in the chat bar. Really, Mary Fridley deserves a huge shout out, as she has assumed the responsibilities of just so many of the centralized activities of the coalition. She has managed all of the correspondence with members. She's reached out personally to new members. She's provided detailed instruction regarding how we can connect, like the dates, times, and links for the gatherings. She has coordinated IT support. I mean, really, without Mary's, having stepped up and assumed this responsibility, I just don't think we would be anywhere at this point with the coalition. So huge, huge shout out to you, Mary. And of course, a huge thank you goes to all the other members of the planning group who have provided strategic support by stepping up and assuming responsibilities for, so many of the activities that I've mentioned here. So we've done a lot in the past 9 months, and I really wanted to acknowledge that and to celebrate those accomplishments. We did feel after our last gatherings in March that we should take pause to reflect on where we are and where we hope to go with this work. We recognize that our planning group has got us here, but we certainly can't do this alone. And that really wasn't ever our vision of the coalition. It was always to forge alliances and through authentic partnership, to achieve real change. So we really need to engage more of our members to take us to this next level. And so to that end, we thought that a campaign that we collectively contribute to would serve to influence the kind of change that we're advocating. It would provide a more organized course of action, I think, that pulls together much of the work that we've already done, but would amplify, the key messages of the coalition that we've all been exploring together over the past 9 months. And taking creative inspiration from show and tells that we shared in our gatherings in March. I don't know if you were all able to participate in those gatherings, but we did these 1-minute show and tells, and they were just so powerful and so creative, many of which were songs and poetry. So we wanted to take creative inspiration from those, and we were thinking that central to the campaign would be a song that we would collectively compose and sing. And I think this will provide us with just a most creative way to engage the world about the coalition. So I'm not going to get into the details of that, since others will be providing that information for you, but I just wanted to say that this will be the central activity for us today, and really, really excited to see what we can create together. So back over to you, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So what I would like to do now is bring up the 3 women who will kind of guide us through this compositional process. I don't quite know what to call it. I think it's a creative process that has no particular product right today. It will eventually be transformed, but today we're really kind of going to keep playing with it. So let's bring up, and if Holly, Taylor, and Robin, you could tell people a little bit about yourselves when you come on stage, that would be great. But I'm going to bring up Holly Marlin, Robin Girton, and Taylor Curta, all of whom are remarkably talented artists, singers, musicians. And I don't think we could have asked for a more dynamic trio to lead this process. So Holly, you want to take it away?
Thank you so much, Mary, and hello, everybody. It's always a privilege to share time with this coalition. It's lovely to see lots of new faces here today, and also to greet familiar friends and faces from across the world who I've got to know over the last 9 months. I loved what you were saying, Pia, about authentic partnerships. And I think the root of authentic partnerships is listening to each other. And I think there is so much rich lived experience in this Zoom room and across the membership that we need to listen to, and we learn from each other. We listen to each other and we learn from each other. And really the heart of writing a good song is weaving in those bits of lived experience, is listening to what people have to say and distilling it. I've referred over the last couple of days to it being almost like the process of distilling a fine whiskey. Now, I might be biased because I've got Scottish blood, but there's a distillation process that happens. We start by listening. Musicians start by using their listening equipment. They listen to what's happening in the room. They listen to what people are saying, and then they learn from that and they draw it together and distill it into something that becomes then a kind of mantra, I suppose, that people find easy to latch onto, sing along to. And my experience as a musician and composer has been really centered on co-creating new music with people who are living with dementia in residential care and in hospital settings, particularly for my practice. And I've had the joy of creating new songs and pieces of music with people living with dementia. And it's incredible singing it like they've sung it throughout the whole of their lives, me singing it like I've sung it from infancy. You know, we create something that becomes a hook that people can then hang more creative ideas onto. But I wanted to just give you a quick bit of context about this particular song, this coalition song, because what we've been doing over the process of the 12 member gatherings now is we've been capturing words and ideas from people, and we've been noting those, and a small team from the planning team has got together, and then from that team a smaller group of creatives and musicians have got their heads together and looked at all this rich lived experience material, and we've tried to distill it down to what we feel might be a possible hook, a chorus, something strong that we could use as a starting point. It's not a definitive, it's just a starting point for what might become our coalition song. And I'm just going to do a quick screen share if I can. I hope this works. I hope, can you all see this? You can all see, I hope that's okay. This is one of 3 word clouds that were created in one of the sets of member gatherings. And I think it was a really lovely way of allowing words to jump out from what the group was saying. So maybe just spend a little time, just a few seconds, looking at these slides as I pass them through. Pick a word that shouts to you. Just look at the words and see which one shouts to you. So this is the second one. And then this one here. What a wealth of beauty. And we've taken these words as the impetus for our hook. So I'm just going to show you the lyrical ideas that we've had for the hook. And then I'm going to pass on to Taylor, who's going to give us the song and tell us a little bit more about how we're going to implement the song. So we've come up with this idea. Mary mentioned creating a new path. So it's a new day. It's a new way. Let's reimagine. It's a bold day. Let's create a world where everyone can thrive. A together day where the joy of one is the joy of all alive. It's a fearless day. It's a hopeful way. Let's reimagine. So I'm going to hand over to Taylor now, who's going to play the hook as it stands and tell us a bit about the creative process. Maybe tell us about Simon, Taylor, and your involvement.
Okay, thanks, Holly. Firstly, Holly, that was so lovely and inspiring. I was feeling a little bit tired coming in today, and now I feel like, okay, yes, let's do this. So, yay. So my name's Taylor. I'm a music therapist and a singer-songwriter and a PhD student at the University of Waterloo in Recreation and Leisure Studies. My research focuses on using collaborative songwriting with people living with dementia to challenge stigma associated with dementia. And also I'm on my own journey of sort of understanding how my role as a music therapist in long-term care and medicalizing music actually has contributed to perpetuating this stigma. So that is where I am now. And a bit about this song is we were very lucky to be able to collaborate with Simon Law, who's a Grammy award-winning artist. He's a producer. He's absolutely incredible, so talented. So we went to him with this idea and he came together with this incredible funky beat, which was just so surprising to me. I just wasn't expecting it to be so groovy. It's incredible. So I'm going to play it, and keep in mind, you're going to hear our voices on it. We have a vision for the end product where we have many voices on it. So you're just going to hear ours, but the goal is to have as many voices as we can singing on here. And I don't know if I'm missing anything before I play. Holly or Robin, did I miss anything? Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to play it. Give me a sec. Okay. It's a new day. It's a new way. It's a new day. It's a new way. Let's reimagine. It's a new day. It's a new way. It's a new day. A new way. Let's reimagine. It's a bold day. Let's create a world where everyone can thrive. A together day where the joy of one is the joy of all alive. It's a fearless day. It's a hopeful way. Let's reimagine. It's a fearless day. It's a hopeful way. Let's reimagine. It's a fearless way. It's a hopeful way. Let's reimagine. It's a fearless way. It's a hopeful way. Let's reimagine. Amazing. So I am going to hand it over to Robin, who's going to explain a little bit more about what we're going to be doing today in our breakout room. So Robin, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Wasn't that fabulous? I love it more and more every time. I saw you, Mary, doing a little.
Wow, I was proving.
That's right. She was getting groovy. So today we are all going to get a little groovy. We're going to do some breakout rooms. And so I believe Holly is going to be leading one room, Taylor another, and myself another. Are we 3 groups, Mary? Okay. And when you get into the breakout room, what we're really valuing is, as Holly was mentioning, your lived experience of dementia. So we're going to first spend a few minutes just introducing ourselves, because I think even when you introduce yourself and explain your connection to the greater dementia community, we as songwriters and writers, we hear a lot of very valuable information, and it's just really meaningful to connect in that way. And after we do a check-in and everyone has an opportunity to say hello and how they're connected to our greater community, we're going to ask a few jump-off questions. What do you want the world to know about dementia? And what do you know and hope personally, on a community level, and then on a global level? And so the group leaders, we're going to be scribing your thoughts. And as musicians and writers, we listen to what you say, how you say it, and we have an ear for, it's amazing some of the gorgeous phrases that are coming out authentically and organically. And I think to your question, Pia, we're going to come back after the breakout groups for a larger sharing and a larger, just a general conversation. And then I wanted to just very quickly, so we can get into the breakout groups, describe very quickly what's happening after this gathering meeting. So we've had 3. So we have a lot of really gorgeous notes to get through, and we're going to collate and condense, and that whiskey distillation process that Holly spoke of is going to happen with our smaller musician/creatives group. And we're going to start taking your thoughts and your experiences and creating lyrics for what will become verses. And then I can't answer all the questions here about what will happen because, as Mary rightly said at our first meeting, I just want to get your words correct, Mary. We are building the boat as we cross the ocean. I love that. So it's a very collaborative, transparent process of creating this song, but then there will be opportunities to create a video that will probably have, we hope, movement and dance and maybe visual art and maybe pictures of family members or other people who have impacted your lives through dementia. We want to make this diverse and give an opportunity once we create this core song for it to be personalized to either yourself or your community and your organization. So you'll have the freedom, the artistic freedom to promote the song in a way that's meaningful to you. I think that's it. Holly, Taylor, yeah? Okay, Mary.
Okay, we're ready? Ruben, are we ready to go? All righty, are we all back? I think we are all back. All righty. So I think what we'll do now is just if we can invite the three groups, Taylor, Robin, and Holly, you can start the conversation. Obviously, everyone in the groups are invited to add or change or whatever. And then we're just going to open it up a bit for just a larger group conversation about, if you will, the campaign with a small c. And then as Taylor mentioned, as Robin mentioned, we'll say a little bit about just kind of where we're going to go from here. There's more to say about that. All right. Holly, you want to start?
Yes, I'm flabbergasted with incredibleness from the group that I had, and can I get a little finger wiggle so I can see where you all
Actually,
are?
if folks can you come on to the screen? It would be nice to see you.
Wonderful.
Yes, bravo.
So I've been flabbergasted by the just volume of incredible lived experiences that have been shared with my group, but I'm just going to try and distill what I heard and then ask the group if I've missed anything out. So I'm just reading it as a sort of stream of consciousness. So let's overthrow the tragedy narrative. From brain betrayal to deep system change, collective creation of a new story, turning up the volume on humanity, putting the spotlight on community, levity, not life brevity. Laugh until you cry, look through new eyes. Memory does not define our humanity. Dementia does not define us. Each individual is unique. Dementia is a unique opportunity to be creative. Brain betrayal or capitalism betraying the value of wisdom? Let's think across generations, young and old together. We will recreate. We will learn from other cultures. I think, did I get everything? I don't know, guys. Excellent. I can see the hands. Oh, good stuff. So I'll hand over to the next group. Thank you so much.
I think we were next for group 2. So my favorite thing to do is I just did it at the end of our little breakout room, but I show this is how our page started before we met. And then this is everything that we came up with. So we came up with lots of things. So I'm just going to read them out as I see them. We can have a good time. We can be out and proud and have dementia. We are cool. We can rediscover intimacy. Let's be more accessible. Let's be open. Not just a meeting of people in the field, but people on the street. We can remember parts of ourselves that were lost. It is possible to live well with dementia. It is society which assumes they cannot. We can express, engage in relationships. We can pursue life. We have a responsibility to support this. Creativity shouldn't be remarkable. It is not uncommon for people with dementia to be creative. It is the stigma that makes it feel like it is. We do not need to ingest the diagnosis. Don't listen to the down and dirty. Embrace the unembraceable. Out of my diagnosis, I have found joy and an inner light. I see that out there. I am not that. A new opportunity to rediscover ourselves. It's a crazy world. We have to be able to laugh.
Hmm.
Wow. Yeah, I mean,
And sorry, did I miss anything from my group or did that cover what we're sort of feeling? Okay, cool.
I'm going to go ahead and talk about group 3 and preface this by saying how extraordinarily talented this group is. They have amazing, deep, and wide associations, both professionally and personally, in the dementia community. It's really a privilege to be in your community. Couple of common themes. We talked a lot today about stigma and changing the narrative and having an open conversation and community. One phrase that Margaret provided us with was life and living well with dementia. And then we heard equally alive and equally human. Love that. And not being defined by a label or a disease name. And that to be associated with dementia is still to be growing and learning and having relationships and relating. And that there can be a deeper, soulful level of connection. And we want to stress personhood and agency and a healthier way to be with dementia. Did I miss anything, group 3? Do you want to add anything? Thank you again for your sharing.
All right, so any additions, any additional thoughts? But why don't we use this to transition into just a kind of we'll use the next 10, 12 minutes to just hear from you all, your thoughts, reactions, how you could see using this, again, campaign, whatever it emerges, but let's for the moment say the song in your settings, because one of the reasons we really felt strongly about making this move was to hopefully give our members and supporters, and anyone, and they don't have to be a member of the coalition, that is not the primary thing, but a way to introduce reimagining dementia to friends, to family, to their universities, their organizations, their communities. And I've said, and I'll say again, I don't care if it's 3 people in your family. I don't care if it's in an entire department of a university or your entire community or city. We need, and I'll go out on a limb. I think the world needs to know that there is a reimagining dementia movement, both because of what everyone is saying, but also because, again, as I said before, it introduces that, yes, we're creating environments. There is support for anyone who wants to reimagine, period. And so, and that be an important piece, and I think a very creative and positive piece of, if you will, the resistance that so many of us are feeling against what's coming down, in our communities and in our world. So we, as I've said, we're relating to everyone here as kind of embracers of this campaign. You can tell us otherwise, but I really would love to hear from you some thoughts about what this inspires you to think about doing, or additional thoughts about the song or the campaign or whatever else. So let's open it up.
One thing I heard that was kind of common in our group, especially, was that all of us had kind of had our own experience with dementia, whether it was a family member or whatever. And I think in the campaign, if you want to reach people, it's kind of important that they somehow have a sense of identifying with it, even if they haven't had a unique experience with dementia, that it has a sense of, okay, well, maybe they haven't had experience with dementia, but maybe they've felt stigmatized because of their depression or their anxiety, or so I think that, you know, kind of that commonality with stigma and kind of reaching to people so that they can identify with it personally is really important, because it's easy to just sort of say that's, you know, that's old people, or that's, you know, for other people. It's not me.
Yeah. I think it's so important what you're saying, Betsy, because I've been thinking a lot about how dementia is on a continuum of a spectrum. There are many millions of people out there who are continuously being stigmatized because of their perceived cognitive shortcomings. And that could be very young children who get slotted into early, you know, if you will, special education along the way, and people who are neuroatypical. So I agree with you. I think there is such a broad audience here that this could resonate with, even if not every incidence of our particular lives are the same. What about other folks?
I think that's a great idea, Betsy. It's trying to broaden the movement well beyond dementia. I think that helps, looking at people with other cognitive impairments, and also probably one of the things in Canada that worked, that was part of the advertising campaign for mental health awareness, was saying that, was reaching out to all the people who may have had a mental health condition or knew somebody who did, which is a huge number of people. And similarly, there's a huge number of people who know somebody with a cognitive impairment, either as a friend, as a family member, and even with dementia, there's a lot of people who obviously who have someone they know who has dementia, and they want to be an advocate for changing things. So if we broaden it beyond dementia, that might give us even more appeal.
100%.
I actually think we have to broaden it beyond people living with dementia, since it's society at large that is producing and reproducing the very stigma that's imposing harm on people living with dementia. So, you know, I remember, I mean, years ago, with my own work, I was very much targeting healthcare practitioners and family carers, but have since really broadened the reach of my work to the general public. And I'm for that reason, and I'm reminded of two initiatives that I think are really powerful. One, you may have heard of in southern Italy. I think it's a village near Calabria, where and of course they were able to do this because it's a small village, but they basically trained every single person in this village to be supportive of people living with dementia. Everyone from the bankers to the shopkeepers to the people at the fruit market, really quite extraordinary. But that was the premise of that initiative. It's to ensure that society at large is supportive of people to live well with dementia. And then there was another example of, this was in Tokyo, I think. It's a restaurant that only hires people living with dementia. It's called the Restaurant of Mistaken Orders.
Yeah.
And it is absolutely brilliant because it's helping to raise awareness within the broader, you know, just more broadly about dementia, and really helping to foster more relational patterns of caring for people living with dementia. So you basically go to this restaurant and you can expect that your order will be wrong and that's okay. It's just part of the experience. So anyway, I just think that these are really nice examples of the importance of us reaching out well beyond, you know, people who are living with dementia and their immediate family carers.
Yeah, I would like to add something really important. So there were two federal departments. One was disabilities, the other was aging. They were pulled together under the ACL. People who are aging do not like to label themselves as disabled. People who are disabled are absolutely physically disabled, are terrified of being stigmatized with anything that has to do with cognitive impairment. So there's a lot of splitting and fear among people when it has to do both with financial resources, but with also how one's being perceived. One organization that is doing an unbelievable job breaking down some of this is Caring Across Generations. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with this organization. So they're focusing on caregiving, but everybody, whether it's family members, like care partners, whether it's a paid caregiver, whether it's for children, whether it's for people with cognitive disabilities, whether it's people with dementia, there's people with medical issues. And they have created a movement where, with their brilliance, they've brought all these people together. And I don't know how they did it. I mean, I just, I get their and some of their presentations. It is almost like magic how they've taken people who typically are fighting each other for very, very minimal resources, and they're seeing it together as a common struggle, and have a lot of recognition, and now have quite a lot of influence actually on the federal level. So I think that is my vision, because I mean, I'm in all these different places. I go to a disabilities collaborative. I'm involved in all the dementia stuff. These people barely talk to each other. They barely know about each other. And they both have unbelievable resources that they kind of don't think about, thinking about themselves differently and being able to work together. So that's my little rant. I mean, I can go on longer.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'll just build on what Dr. Contos was talking about, and also Brenda, what you were talking about, intergenerational and community support. I think, especially in Canada, but probably in the US and elsewhere, we're going to be looking at more people wanting to age in place. And so it will be incumbent on the community to be able to enable and support those people. And so that means sort of, I think, like what you were saying, is almost like an outside in advocacy. So not just focusing on care communities and sort of preaching to the choir, but thinking outside the box. So I'm thinking, like, there's a great program, and I want to say it's in Kitchener-Waterloo, but maybe someone here is from Waterloo. I think maybe they can correct me, but there's a golf club that undertook a whole bunch of training and has dementia enabling golf programs. And it really became a part of the matrix of how the public golf course was run. So it's almost like thinking outside the box. Like, is it grocery store staff? Is it bank staff? Is it the local corner store? And making it an outside in advocacy.
And yes, that was Waterloo. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's such a cool program. Really, really looks amazing.
I think it's called Golf for Life. Is that
Yeah.
what it's called? Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant.
Catherine, when you were talking, it made me think one of the things that Bill Thomas, who was one of the founders of the Greenhouse Project and Pioneer Network, his newest project is looking at, instead of looking at aging in place, looking at aging in community, because that's really a more descriptive way of seeing what it is that needs to happen. It's just not about staying in your home. That can be very isolating. That's not the right thing for everybody, but having that community around you is the better way to look at how we build, how we see housing, or whatever we want to call it, for elders as we move forward.
It just reminds me that, and I was in a conversation with Ann Basting a couple of days ago, and we were talking about the coalition, and obviously we're talking about how inspired it's been by her work and the work of so many others. But for what you're saying, Catherine and Joan, it just reminds me, I mean, from the day one, the coalition has never been interested in reinventing any wheels. There is so much creative work out there. But to Brenda's point, often people don't talk to each other or are doing it in silos. And so I hope in this campaign, hopefully if we do it well, we'll add to that. If anything, we want to use our collective joint experience, resources, passions to elevate all of our work, to put it on a national and international stage, and say, no, we have solutions. That's not the problem. We got it. If you put us in charge, I trust this group of people could transform things in a relatively short amount of time if we had the money and the political will. Now, those are big ifs. But we're not lacking resources. We're not lacking creativity. We're not lacking. People are doing wondrous things. However, they're not getting much of a spotlight. And with this, I'm hoping to transcend, if you will, our kind of individual activities and the things that we all have to, are all very active in maintaining, to kind of say, okay, now we also have to come together, use what we have learned, and let's elevate this to a broader stage and hopefully make some big waves on that stage. Any final thoughts before? And then I thought maybe Robin, if there are, maybe we could give a little bit more. Yeah, sorry.
Hi, Mary. This is Rachel, and this is my first time at this meeting, which is really phenomenal. I'm so glad to be here. The really great conversations and dialogues. I've participated as well as I can. I'm not able to be on video right now. But one of the things that maybe has already been discussed by the group, I'm sure, but I, just can't help but notice that we're having all these ideas for people with dementia, but I don't think there's anybody with dementia on the call. And, I think it's so important, nothing for us without us.
Actually, Rachel, there are people living with dementia on the call.
Okay, good.
There are people living with dementia.
I haven't heard the voices of anybody with dementia on the call that I know of. And just wondering if that's something that is, always included, where we're talking about all these programs and all these things we can provide and all these things we can do for people with dementia. But I just, want to make sure that it's written into what we do, and that people with dementia are part of.
It is written into it, and actually more than half of our planning committee is people living with dementia. And however,
wonderful, good to know.
That's why we're working with all of you, because we need you to do this work with us. We can't reach all the people living with dementia. We've got the resources we've got. So we have and will remain committed to working with people living with dementia who want to create this with us. And in some ways, I'm also turning it back to all of you on, okay, that's why we want you to get us out there to your communities, we have done numerous presentations, as Pia said. We are very open to coming out, but we're limited in what we can do, and I don't want to overstate that. So we also invite you to bring us to wherever we need to be. We'll go there. Don't worry about it.
Mary, maybe I could just add, Rachel, I had included in sorry, I have to turn my camera off because my bandwidth is not great right now, but I had put in the chat a link to an article that we wrote about the coalition, and many of the co-authors are living with dementia and are members of the coalition. But there we do articulate that genuine inclusion is at the core of this coalition, and that we are actively soliciting and facilitating contributions of people living with dementia and their care partners. That we strongly believe that their perspectives, their interests, their goals really have to be at the forefront of any social action plan that's aimed at bettering the world for them. So I'm really pleased you raised this, and I'm pleased to have the opportunity to emphasize that is indeed a core principle of this coalition.
Great, wonderful, good to know. Thank you.
All righty. So Robin, are there final thoughts? Because in the last few minutes we have.
I think we're good.
All righty. So we will continue as distilling. And again, all of you, we will relate to you as actively involved. Because again, there's more to it than just a song. There obviously is, you have to then make this come alive. And so, and all of that, you will be an active part. And Wendy, I know you offered to talk about marketing and outreach ideas. Let's go for it. Any and every, all skills, connections, start thinking about it and think big, because this will be a grassroots effort. It's not, we don't have thousands and millions of dollars, so it is us, which is personally how I like it. So thank you all so much. This has just been such a delightful week. And Nancy, I didn't say hello to you before, but hello. Please stay in touch with us, continue sharing ideas, introduce others to us, but just generally speaking, continue reimagining dementia. It's probably the most important thing we can all do. So Ruben, are you ready to play us out? And we're gonna dance our way out as we always do, but please everyone have a lovely rest of your day, evening, weekend, life. It's a thrill to see you. All right, Ruben, hit it.